Welcome to Ascend with Amelia, the podcast designed to equip the next generation with the skills, knowledge, and insights needed to build the career path of their dreams. My name's Amelia. I have been in corporate America for 20 years. I have worked in 4 different career types across 2 different industries, and I have been where you have been. I have been a young adult who had no idea what I wanted to be when I grew up and had a hard time understanding where I would uniquely fit within the various opportunities that were out there. If that sounds familiar to you, then this is the podcast for you. But I won't be doing this alone. I am teaming up with experienced professionals who are just as encouraged and passionate about guiding and mentoring future leaders. Together, we'll dive into their journeys and how they got to where they are today, a day in the life of different careers and industries, and so much more. So buckle up, take notes, and get ready to ascend toward your career goals. Let's get started. Today's guest is Natasha Leafer, a powerhouse operations executive with more than 15 years of experience leading transformation and performance in the healthcare and technology industries. Natasha is known for turning complex challenges into streamlined, scalable solutions, whether she's optimizing multi-billion-dollar operations, automating systems, or building high-performing teams. She brings a unique blend of strategic thinking and people-centered leadership with a track record of driving measurable results while fostering cultures of engagement and excellence. Natasha holds dual undergraduate degrees, an MBA, and multi-professional certifications. And she's passionate about innovation, mentorship, and making systems work better for everyone involved. We're thrilled to have her on the show to dive into leadership, operational strategy, and creating meaningful impact. Natasha, we really are excited to have you here.
Thank you.
Let's start with, if you had to describe your job in the simplest way possible, like you were explaining it to a 5-year-old, but still make it sound cool, how would you do it?
So, my industry is not necessarily cool, but what I would tell a 5-year-old is that I help make sure that you, your friends, your grandparents can go to the doctor. I'm making sure that the doctor, if you go in for a headache, they're not checking your foot. So we're making sure that once you go in, they'll call your name and you can go right back and see whether that's a doctor, your eye doctor, your dentist.
Thank you. Well, tell us, what industry overall would you say you belong to, and who are the major players or competitors in this space?
So I'm in the healthcare industry, and I'm on the insurance side. So we're the ones that are in the back end, ensuring that when you go to the doctor, that your parents, your grandparents, whoever are paying for your service, that they can do it. And the major competitors, if you look out there, is Elevance Health, which no one has ever heard of. You normally hear of Blue Cross Blue Shield, or United Healthcare is a major player. So those are your largest ones. But there are many insurance companies out there, Centene, Aetna. So if you ever go to the doctor and you see your parents pull out a card, it'll normally say the name of who your insurer is.
Got you. So you have nothing to do. You're in the healthcare industry, but you're not a doctor or a nurse. You do something completely different.
Yes.
That's super fascinating. I didn't even know that when I was a young adult. So thanks for highlighting that. So talk to me about your day. Is it a 9 to 5, or do you have more control over your schedule?
Yeah. So I have control over my schedule. So depending on the meetings that I have throughout the day, that determines my schedule for that day. So I am meeting with individuals across the United States because we are focused on the United States and not global, but meeting with individuals across the country. And depending on their schedule, depending on when we can find the time to meet, that determines when I'm have to be in the office. The crazy part is that still fills your entire day because you have back-to-back meetings with individuals to solve problems, figure out what's next, what's the future, and making sure that we're doing our work correctly.
Absolutely. So you have a ton of meetings during the day. What do you do when you don't have meetings?
So a lot of planning. So from those meetings, you get a lot of action items. You get work that you have to do, whether that's an Excel file, looking at data and analyzing that, whether it's putting together a PowerPoint to present what you have accomplished as a team. But it's a lot of planning and actually preparing and doing the work that came from every single meeting.
Love that. Talk to us about what's the first thing that you do when you start your workday?
First thing is go to email. I go to email so I can determine if it's any major issues that have popped up, if it's anything that I need to give attention to that I didn't have on my plan for yesterday. And then you didn't ask, but the second thing is I go to my to-do list so I can determine what I need to accomplish for that day, and what things I need to follow up on.
Fantastic. Any cool routines or productivity hacks that you swear by? This is going to help not only the adults out there, but also young adults.
So I am old school, so I still write down my to-do list. And then I actually go through for that day and identify which ones I can try to finish or finish a bulk of for that day. And actually put a note next to it. And those are my main focuses. Because you will have items that have to be done in the short term and then in the near term. And so it allows me to focus on the right things that I can make an impact on for the day. So that's one of my productivity hacks. The other is I've actually went through and put some rules in my email to where I can actually, if it's any of my leaders or anyone that I work with often, I have it come in different colors and looks. So I can actually go straight to those requests and make sure that I'm solving those first. Because the one thing that can happen in any job is that you can get bogged down in doing all the activities and not making an impact. And so being able to go through and figure out what are the stakeholders that I need to respond to quickly, what are the activities I need to focus on, really helps me to make sure I'm accomplishing my goals.
I love that. Going back to what you were talking about with regard to writing your to-do list down and you being old school, I'm absolutely also old school in that regard, but there's a ton of different tools and technology out there to help and do that exact same thing. Write down or type all of your to-do list items and kind of prioritize from there. So it's not just old school that's helpful, but it's also technology and tools that are out there to help as well.
Yeah, a lot of people love to use OneNote. That's a tool that actually can have your to-do list, your notes, and then you can take that information and put into a AI or Chat GPT and have it do the work for you to prioritize your work, keep your notes in one place. So definitely a way that you can do it with tools and technology. I'm still just a notebook and paper and pen person.
Same. So what's one entry-level job that actually set you up for success, and how did it help?
So when I started out my career, I started out at a telecom company, and I had the opportunity to do an entry-level rotational program. And so I would say that is what set me up for success, because the goal of that program was to teach you how to work with the customer that's on the front line, how to work in the back end, as well as how to understand the finances and the business skills that you needed to be successful. So I think being a part of that rotational program was key to me being able to build my leadership skills. So I don't think it was one entry-level role. It was being able to be a part of a rotational program that truly helped, because it helped me see the different aspects to run a business.
Absolutely. You know what's funny? I was actually also in a leadership rotational program as well. And I would suggest every young adult out there, if they don't know exactly what they want to do, to become a part of a rotational program, because I had the opportunity to transition from or rotate between an operations role, a procurement role, and a quality role. I had no idea what any of those words meant when I was going through, or when I started going through that program. But, getting an opportunity to speak with different people, that was what they did every day, understanding what they did, who they were, what made them good at those jobs, then helped me figure out where I best fit as well. I ended up after that rotational program, I ended up choosing my career in supply chain management, which again, I had no idea what that was before, but I did that through that, or I was able to understand that through that rotational program.
Yep. And I would say that's where it definitely makes it real. So my rotations was, I actually led in a call center. So everyone has called into a call center. So I actually led a small team in a call center for TV. So it was interesting to hear people call in with their issues and challenges, and hear people that sound just like your friends and family complaining about their TV stations not showing up or the program that they bought not working. So really being able to understand how customers feel, work with different personalities, that was an amazing opportunity. Then I went into a marketing one, which when you hear marketing, you think of, you know, the TikTok where they're trying to get you to buy a product. Mine was actually analyzing the sales data to determine where you should market and then sharing that with the team. And then my last one was actually working for leading technicians out in the field.
What are lean technicians?
Leading technicians.
Leading technicians.
So it
okay.
was field technicians who went out and they actually repaired the 911 phone lines. And so my team's role was to actually talk them through where the lines were in the ground and how do you splice them back together? How do you fix it and resolve that? And so it was completely different where I was, you know, I had the opportunity to work with the customer, opportunity to work with our technicians that were actually out in the field, and then one where you're looking at the data that runs a business.
I am baffled. I'm up there in age, and I'm baffled that I every day learn of a different career type or a different industry. You know, it just goes to show you to not be overwhelmed at that kind of fact when you're a young adult, because even adults are still learning every day, you know, the different types of opportunities that are out there. So I appreciate that. You did a lot when you first started straight out of school. Did you know at the time that those roles that you were taking would be a game changer in your career?
No, I just knew that I was learning. I was growing. I was building out my network. But did I know where my career path was going to go? No. When I initially started, my goal was to get into a diversity-driven role. So actually doing like community development, where you're going out in the community and getting individuals to sign up for the service, or doing diversity marketing, where you make commercials that are targeting diverse markets. So that's where I thought my career path was going. So did not know that there'll be game changers that help me develop into being a leader in a different way.
Let's talk about that a little bit. I know, because I was there, that a lot of young adults think that if they go into college or into their career and they feel like that's going to be forever. Like it's a life or death choice, that they can't pivot from that. But it sounds like you pivoted. How did you do that?
It's really focusing on your transferable skills, right? So when you get into the workplace, you'll start figuring out what you're good at and what you like doing. And then you'll start learning that maybe the path that you outline doesn't take you down that path, right? Some of the things that I thought I wanted to do wouldn't have involved me leading teams and empowering people, mentoring people at work, and having larger and larger scale teams. And so you really learn that as you're starting to lean into those roles, learn more about those roles, then you start realizing that it may be something else out there for you to lean into. But I think the one thing to point out as well is, as I was going on the journey doing different roles, I was still learning about new areas and new jobs that I had no idea existed.
And the cool thing about that is when you're in a role that's kind of like a rotational program, or really any role, you're not just learning about the job, but you're also learning a lot about yourself. What you feel comfortable doing. Do you feel comfortable sitting behind a computer analyzing data all day? Do you feel comfortable talking to people all day? Kind of what's your comfort zone? So I feel like you probably, and I know I did, started to figure out, hey, I'm kind of good at this. And then I started just kind of pulling the thread in that regard to try to do that job more and more, or something like that more and more. So did you take a more traditional route, i.e. climbing within one company, or did you build expertise across different roles and industries? And I think I know the answer to this. You've already alluded to it a little bit.
So I started out in telecom. And so telecom is AT&T, T-Mobile, Sprint. I don't even know if half of them exist nowadays. Now anyway. But it's your cell phone company, your house phone company. And so started in that, and based on the rotations, even after my rotational program, I kept rotating. So I did a finance role. I did a traditional marketing role. I was a chief of staff which, you probably hear that about that with the president. They have chief of staff, so the right-hand person to the leader to help make sure that they're executing on their goals. So I had a lot of different opportunities in telecom. And then somehow, right, I applied for a role in healthcare and ended up in healthcare. So switched industries as well and did something completely new in that industry. So I was able to bring the soft skills, the things that I learned leading people, analyzing data. I was able to bring that over to the healthcare arena in a role that was completely different from anything I had done before.
Now that sounds scary.
Yes.
Was it scary? And what made you kind of take that leap of faith?
Yep. Every move and every new role felt scary because you're having to learn something new, learn new players, and rebuild your credibility and make sure that people see you as somebody who is driving results. So I think that every time I started something new, it was scary. And then especially starting at a new company, that was scary as well. But I think you will get to the point where you are questioning, should I keep doing this role? Am I bored? Am I still learning? And then at that point, you trust your gut and you start applying for that next opportunity. And then I do believe that there's divine intervention. So once you start applying and start figuring out if that's the next move for you, it'll come
The right
at the
doors will
right
open.
time, in the right moment for you.
Absolutely. Let's see. What's the biggest lesson you learned from your career journey?
Focus on making an impact, not about making the dollar, even though it is important to make money.
Exactly.
I think it's focus on doing your job that you're doing well, learning your job and your role, and the money will follow. And I know you probably have heard people say that before, but if you find a thing that you're passionate about, the thing you love and like to do, then you'll start doing better. And then the money will come after that, right? To where they give you promotions, increases in pay. So I think it's just try to find what you truly love doing.
Absolutely. And, you and I have talked a little bit before this and, talking about doors opening. Sometimes you just having your head down, doing your job, doing what you're supposed to do, people pull you into different roles. You don't even have to apply to them, but they see you're doing a good job. They see you're learning, you're good with people, and they pull you into your next opportunity. Have you had that experience?
Yes.
Tell us about
I
it.
would say throughout my career journey, I've had a mix, right? And so definitely ones where I've done great work and people who I've worked with in the past or have I've spoken with just to see how, what job they're doing. They've come back and said, hey, I would like her to join this team on this new project. And I would say, especially in my first company, there was probably 4 opportunities where I got pulled into new areas of the business just because they saw the results that I was driving.
I think that speaks a lot to, even if you have a job within a specific group within your company, it's good to still network with other people outside of your current function, get to know them a little bit about what they do, because the opportunity may come that they want to work with you in a different project or effort. How have your personal choices, whether education, location, or life events, accelerated or delayed your career goals?
So I would say the personal choice of making sure you go to school or go get a trade, that was the original thing that started out my career, right? And so as you go get that education, that certification, a degree, or a full trade certification, I think those are the things that show people that you're truly trying to grow and learn. So I think that's what set me up for my initial role, was showing that commitment to finish out my degree. And then going on to further my degree, I think that showed my commitment and allowed me to transition industries. So I think that is something to really make sure you're learning and growing. And whether that's getting something official on paper or just constantly making sure that you're learning, reaching out to folks within your company to learn what they do. You're continuing to expand your knowledge in whatever role you have. I think those are the things that continue to help you grow and move forward.
I appreciate you highlighting that it doesn't have to be a degree. I know degrees are really expensive, at this point, and that is the path that I took, and I know you took it as well. But there's so many other opportunities out there as well, and you don't have to start from a degree. To your point, you can start with a certification, a trade, anything that shows that you are trying to learn something and be good at something. And that's, I think, the most important part, not necessarily the degree, although the degree is helpful in some cases. Do you have any side hustles or projects outside your main job?
Yes. So I have, and the one thing that I learned over time throughout my career is that you should have multiple streams of income. So that means that you should not rely on one thing to bring in money into your household, because you never know where industry could go, what could happen in that industry. And if you kind of pay attention to what's going on in the economy now, you will see that that's, rings true. So it's figure out if you have anything else you're interested in on the side that you may be able to do in your free time outside of your normal 9 to 5 or however your job is structured. So I actually own a coffee shop as well. But the great thing is all of the skills that I've learned in managing people in my job, in my day job, and being able to set up processes has allowed me to run a business without actually having to be there at the business. So I have a strong leadership team that's put in place at the coffee shop. And so we're open Monday through Friday, serving a small town. But I definitely believe that my passion with loving coffee is what drove me to starting that additional side hustle. But the skills that I learned in corporate America is what has made me successful.
I love that. I think what's interesting about that is a lot of people, adults included, but we're focused on young adults, but a lot of people think that the job that they have or the career that they choose has to hit on all of the desires of their life, that it has to answer everything that they have ever wanted to do in their life. But in some cases, you have 1 to 2 to 3 different types of things that are hitting on those different areas that call to you. Yep. So you've got corporate America, you love, leading teams in the healthcare space. At the same time, you love coffee. Yep. So you have that on the side, and that those between those two things, those fulfill you. And I think that's one thing we definitely need to let young adults know is it's not just about the one job that you have. Now, have that one job and do an excellent job before you start looking to have extra streams of income, but you don't have to be pigeonholed into one thing. Yeah. I know I, for one, ended up deciding to have a side hustle of owning an 18-wheeler that has absolutely nothing to do with what I currently do in my current job. And frankly, it really didn't have any passion from my perspective at all either, but I wanted to make a little bit more money. And that was something that a friend had told me about. So I looked into that and did really well with an 18-wheeler for a really long time. So keeping an open mind, I think, is huge in that regard. Yeah. Let's see. What organizations, mentors, or communities have helped you level up professionally or personally?
I think the first thing that comes to mind is finding leaders within the organizations that I'm working within that are willing to mentor me and honestly mentor me, give me the feedback of what I'm doing well, what I need to work on, and then me being receptive to that. So I think truly finding those strong mentors, and then what they also call it, a champion. So I think it's very important for if you start in corporate, if you start in a trade, wherever you start, it's going to be important to find someone who has done what you're doing, right? And have them support you, guide you, and then be willing to talk about the great work you're doing in rooms that you're not currently in. So I think that finding those mentors, and just know that you sometimes may have to, what I call it, cold calling. You may have to send an email to somebody that you heard speak at a town hall at work, or you ran into at a restaurant. You may have to send an email or a text and say, would you be willing to sit down and talk with me and help mentor me through my career? And those are the folks that you'll be surprised. A lot of people are really excited about mentoring the next generation. And so those are the individuals who have really stuck out to me as helping me move forward. And I think the other thing is just making sure that as you're personally starting to find relationships that you're going to be in, get in a relationship with someone who supports you as well, that is supportive of your growth, because I know we're all, everybody's out there seeking their better half, but potentially with all the fairy tales out there, you're seeking your better half. And I would say just seek someone who continues to encourage you to grow as well, because that could be a downfall. Having the right friends, right person to be in a relationship with, and then in your job, finding folks that can mentor you and guide you forward. So
Agreed.
I think those are critical.
Agreed. And just to step back a little bit, you were talking about, relationships within work and kind of networking within work. I think one thing that I always hear, not always, but I sometimes hear from adults is, I just go to work and I put my head down and I do my job. And I want to encourage the next generation to, elevate yourself beyond that. Don't just think about doing your job and then going home, because the next opportunity that's going to come is going to be from going a little bit above and beyond, or networking with people that aren't in your organization. So just an encouraging thing to know that that's something that you're thinking through as well, making sure you're always continuously building relationships, because that's super important. What soft skills have made the biggest impact on your success?
The first one that comes to mind is communication, whether that's written or verbal. Being able to think through what you want to communicate, and being able to either write that effectively or be able to speak with others about that so they can come away with a clear message. You will find that you will be in a lot of meetings where folks say a lot of words and you have no idea what the purpose or point was. So I think it's figuring out the way that you can say things to be meaningful and impactful. So I think communication is first and foremost an important soft skill. Being able to have patience and the ability to, and when I say patience, it's not just patience with people, but patience with solving issues is also important, because what you're going to realize is that sometimes implementing solutions, solving problems takes time. And so being willing to dig deep and put together solutions that will last beyond you being in that role is important. But it definitely takes patience with people, patience with driving results. Those are the two that I would say is most critical.
Absolutely. To go back to your communication piece, the communication from you to others is huge. And you mentioned that, but the communication from others to you when they are just saying those words and you're not necessarily sure what they're saying or, what it means to you. I've literally had to, in meetings sometimes where people are saying things to me, I've had to Google some of the words that they're saying, because if not, I'm just going to continue to be overwhelmed with all of the words that they're saying that I don't understand. So I utilize that as an opportunity to learn. I will write a couple of words down and then I'll go research what they mean later. So communication from you out and from outside in is, I think, a huge factor, a huge soft skill. So that's a wrap for today's episode. Natasha, thank you so much for being here today. A huge thanks for joining me and sharing some valuable insights. I hope you all picked up a few gems to add to your proverbial toolbox as you continue to ascend toward your goals. As always, onward and upward, and see you next time.